If you hear whispering from the cornfield after sundown, don't answer, it's not the wind, and it remembers who speaks. They told me the cornfields behind our town were sacred land, the kind that remembers every footstep and breath taken on it. I never paid much attention growing up. To me, it was just rows of tall stalks swaying in the wind, a place kids dared each other to enter and sometimes didn't come back from until morning, shaking and pale, refusing to talk about what they saw. But everything changed last September, after my uncle moved into the old house on the edge of the field. He wasn't a superstitious man. He used to scoff at warnings, called the local stories rural fairy tales and said the only thing hiding in the corn was rats. 2 weeks later, I found his house empty. The doors wide open, the kitchen lights on, but not a soul inside. And the cornfield, it was completely still, not a single stalk moving, even with the wind howling above. I called the sheriff. They searched the place, they even walked into the corn. Nothing. Just rows and rows of perfectly straight, tall stalks. But I noticed something strange while I waited on the porch, faint whispers. Very faint. Like wind passing through lips instead of leaves. They were soft, rhythmic, circling. I couldn't make out the words at first, until I leaned forward. It wasn't English. It wasn't any language I knew. But it was saying something. Repeating, inviting. And I made the mistake of whispering back, "Hello?" Everything stopped. Suddenly, the air grew heavy. The shadows in the corn stretched unnaturally long, reaching across the grass. The sun hadn't even fully set, but it felt like midnight. I backed away and ran inside. That night, I dreamed of rows of eyes opening between the stalks. Thousands of them. Yellow, glassy, and unblinking. They whispered my name, over and over, and with each repetition, I felt my body grow colder. When I woke up, I had dirt in my fingernails and grass in my mouth. Since that night, the whispers haven't stopped. Every evening at exactly 7:13 p.m., they start, just outside my window. I moved back into town, far from the corn, but I still hear them. On phone calls. In the vents. Even in my sleep. My uncle? Never found. But some nights, I swear I hear his voice mixed in the whispers. Begging. Screaming. Changing. Like they're using him now, the way a ventriloquist uses a puppet. I started researching. Turns out the land was once a boundary, not between countries or properties, but between worlds. The natives wouldn't farm it. They called it Katawe, which roughly translates to mouth that eats voices. They believed the wind there wasn't air, it was something alive. Something that mimicked sound to lure people in. A spirit, a parasite. One that fed not on flesh, but memory, identity, and voice. Once you speak back, it knows you. Once it knows you, it can find you. Anywhere. And here's the worst part. I tried warning others. One of my friends, Sam, didn't believe me. He went out there one night with a Bluetooth speaker and shouted into the corn like a jackass. He disappeared the next day. When I went to his apartment to check on him, his phone was still on the charger, but playing a voice memo. His voice. Repeating I shouldn't have spoken. I shouldn't have spoken. Over and over. Until it wasn't his voice anymore. The last spoken was wrong. Slurred. Hollow. Like something else finished the sentence for him. Now I sleep with white noise on and never answer whispers, even if they sound like my mother or my childhood dog or even my own voice. Because they're clever. They become what you trust most. And each time I speak, they get closer. The shadows in my apartment stretch wrong. My mirror is foggy even when I haven't used the shower. I know it's only a matter of time. But maybe, just maybe, you can avoid what I couldn't. Rules to survive the cornfield whispers. 1. Never speak to the whispers. No matter how real, familiar, or tempting they sound. They aren't who they claim to be. 2. Do not enter the cornfield after sundown. Not even a single step. Once inside, the rows shift, and you'll never find your way back. 3. If you dream of the cornfield, wake up immediately. If you can't wake up, don't speak in the dream. 4. Cover your mirrors with fabric during whisper hours, 7:13 p.m. to 3:03 a.m. Reflections have been known to respond back. 5. If you start hearing your name in the wind, leave the area for 24 hours. They need proximity to fully mimic you. 6. Burn any recordings that captured the whispers. The mimicry spreads through sound. 7. Never speak your name aloud near the field. Names are anchors, and they can pull more than just memories. I didn't understand the weight of that warning until the cold whisper of my own name slithered back to me from the tall stalks of grass one night. I had said it by accident, A reflex mutter while trying to steady myself after a stumble in the dark. The air around me changed immediately, heavier, wet with breath that wasn't mine. The moon above flickered like a dying light bulb, and for a moment, the world paused. Then came the slow rustle. Not the wind. Not an animal. Something deliberate. Something that had been waiting. I turned back toward the road, only to see the path I'd walked swallowed up by black. No, not black. Shadow. Something living. I started to walk, then run. My pulse thumped in my throat, and every few seconds, I heard the faint mimic of my voice behind me, saying my name again and again like a chant, distorted and wrong, like it was chewing it. I didn't dare look back. The old man had told me, never speak your name near the field. Never let it know what to call you. I didn't realize that once it knew your name, it could call you home. It's home. The next day, I stayed in bed, too afraid to move. But the air in my room felt off. It smelled like wet soil. My closet door creaked open even though I hadn't touched it. And when I looked at the mirror above my dresser, I saw footprints in the condensation that hadn't been there before, muddy ones, as if someone had climbed out of the earth. That night, I dreamt of a version of me walking into the field, smiling, skin peeling at the jaw, a hole in its chest filled with writhing roots. When I woke up, my name was written on the ceiling above my bed in what looked like soil, and something darker. I tried to leave the village. Car wouldn't start. Bus never came. My phone glitched any time I tried to call for help. The few people who still talked to me wouldn't meet my eyes. It was as if they already knew what I had done and were just waiting for it to finish. I boarded up the windows, recited every protection charm I could find, and tried not to think of the sound my voice made when it echoed back through the field. But each night since then, I hear scratching at the floorboards beneath my bed. Not mice. Too rhythmic. Too intentional. Something is crawling its way up. And it's getting bolder. Tonight, I woke to find dirt scattered across the floor. A trail led from my bedroom door to the base of my bed. I haven't looked under it. I won't. But I can hear my name being whispered through the mattress. It's not my voice anymore. I made a mistake. A small one. A breath. A name. But out here, that's all it takes. Because once the field knows who you are, it doesn't forget. And it never lets go. Even now, as I sit in the safety of my own home, far from the field, far from that place of whispers and weeping dirt, I feel the tug of something unseen coiling around me like a vine. My name, my real name, is lost to the stalks, drawn down into the earth where it festers and grows. The name I go by now is only a shell, a shield I wear thinly, praying it holds long enough to keep the truth buried. I see things now. Faces that don't belong in mirrors, shadows that linger long after the lights come on. At first, it was just the voices in the wind, the distant calls of something childlike mimicking laughter. But it's grown bolder. At 3:17 every night, the same time the wind first died in that cursed field, I hear my own voice call back to me from the hallway. Not a recording. Not an echo. My exact tone, inflection, cadence, pleading, warning, sometimes mocking. Last night, I found a photograph slid under my bedroom door. It wasn't printed on photo paper but rather something leathery and brittle, like dried skin. The image was me, kneeling in the middle of the field, mouth open in a silent scream, and behind me, no, above me, something impossibly tall and bent hovered like a marionette whose strings were cut mid-motion. It had my father's eyes, my mother's hair, and the fingers of everyone I ever lost to that place. I burned it, of course, but the ash wouldn't stay in the fireplace. It drifted up, hovering like dust motes, and spelled out the word, soon. I boarded up the windows. I lined the doors with salt and iron, said prayers from religions I don't even believe in. Nothing helps. At night, I smell corn even though I live miles from any farm. And the floorboards creak like footsteps pacing in circles. Sometimes backward. Yesterday, my neighbor's dog started barking at my front door. It didn't stop for 5 hours. When it finally did, the dog's eyes were bleeding, and it had gnawed its own tongue in half. The owner came by, hysterical, asking if I'd seen anything. I lied, of course. What else could I do? Tell her that the field remembers? That the scarecrow's grin is carved into the walls of my dreams? That I can no longer walk past any patch of tall grass without flinching? And tonight, just moments ago, I received a phone call. The number was all zeros. When I answered, no one spoke. But I could hear the rustle of stalks. And then, my name. My real name. Whispered slowly, deliberately, and with so much hate that my bones ached. I don't know how much longer I have. I can feel myself slipping, becoming hollow, like those empty-eyed people in the village who never spoke again after one wrong step. I've sealed every mirror. I've thrown out every photograph. But I still feel it watching. Waiting. Stretching its limbs through the cracks of time and space, reaching across fields, across memories, across names. So if you ever hear your name spoken from a field you've never seen before, don't answer. Because I did. And it never lets go.